We are live from Colorado Springs. I'm Diego Sanchez, president of HousingWire, and this is a bonus session. Y'all just got off the stage, and I have to say, I have not seen a room that packed in a while. It was pretty amazing. People were lined up along the side, lined up along the back, and all the chairs in the center were full. It was amazing to watch, and it was a really good session. So before we dive into this bonus conversation, could each of you just introduce yourself and talk about where you work?
Yeah, great. Chad Powers with Fifth Third Bank. I oversee all of our real estate systems as well as the home equity business.
Great.
Hi, I'm Eric Czajka. I work with Rocket. I'm the SVP of Governance and Oversight.
Shelley Leonard, president of Xactus.
Candice McNaught, SVP of Business Development and Strategic Initiatives.
So it's a really interesting panel because each of you are lenders that have different business models, right? But you're all probably thinking about margin compression and cost savings in this environment. I'd love for each of you, just going down the line here, to talk about, what activities you've been up to in this margin compression environment and how you're tackling the issue.
Yeah, we're working really hard on trying to find great strategic partnerships. We've done some transactions on like our correspondent channel to sell some flow servicing. That increases the margin on that business. We spend a lot of time on the front end of our loan origination operations, trying to take out cost on the credit side, the income side. I think it's a lot of things folks across the industry are probably doing.
Yeah, I'd say having a startup mindset is really, really important for us right now. And that's something that Dan Gilbert has talked about over the years, but really getting back to that mindset and remembering that what got us here isn't going to get us where we're going tomorrow, right? Taking a fresh look at all of our systems and realizing that just because we did it one way in the past doesn't mean we should continue to do that in the future. So that has been really really important for us to continue or really focusing back on mindset. So
Shelley, I'm going to skip you for a moment
that.
And go to Candice, and then I'm going to close with you. Yeah.
I think during the time that we've evolved, right, when times were really good, where we had money to spend, we started to incorporate all these tech stacks and these tech vendors. And now we're looking at it and it's like the scope is 27, 30, 35 people. And now we're trying to see how we can shrink that. Do we go to enterprise? Is that going to help us drive costs down? When you're servicing in correspondent and retail, how can we be on a level playing field? Are you using different loan operating systems for different channels? Yes, some are because they had to back in the day.
Yep.
And then things have evolved over time to where you no longer have to. And then what systems talk to one another? Now you've got AI. And how are you taking your servicing book and turning that into the retail for the lead gen? Do you want to be on 3 different systems, or do you just want to be on one so it can all flow appropriately? So for us, our largest thing is doing QBRs with our tech partners. So we've asked them to present to us, where are we missing the mark? How are we performing? How can we retarget? Where can we cut costs? And what is our competition doing on maybe where we're missing the mark? And we let them evaluate us, and then we evaluate them. Because we say, hey, this is no longer working for us in a cost perspective. We need to get to X, and we want you to help us get there.
Shelley.
I love
Could
that.
you respond to each of those? Because they were really interesting responses,
They
different,
are.
but also there's some common themes as well.
I actually love how they all come together.
Yeah.
Right, and as a fintech in the space, right, we're doing all of those things. Again, not only in the products and services we're delivering to the lenders, but also internally, right? Because we have our own operations to run, right? And our own margins to manage, right? So we're building technology to help them with all of those challenges. And that's really where the intelligent verification platform comes in, right? So it's enterprise, right? So you can order all your verification products that you need start to finish within one platform. Not only for origination, but also for servicing. So again, doing the full life cycle of mortgage, but then it's also integrated, right? So it's APIs, everything is integrated into your operating system, right? Whatever the LOS of choice is, right? And then I think about the startup mindset, right? And that's when I think about being lean, right? And thinking about how do you adjust and not always do the same things you've always done the same way you've always done them, right? And that's exactly what IVP is about as well. Because again, I think about innovation in the verification space has been very limited for a long time. And it's because it's been constrained by how we always do things. And that is where we're lifting that constraint and saying, what is the art of the possible? What could we do?
Yeah.
Obviously, it needs to be compliant, it needs to meet regulatory requirements. All that's a given, that's table stakes. But how can we use technology to drive dynamic workflows that will actually enable that lean approach? So again, I think that then I think about it comes back to the people, right? And it comes back to how are we leveraging our people who have deep subject matter expertise and driving that into the platform so that you can deliver different workflows based on channel, you can deliver different workflows based on different models, so that we can support all of these different lenders with very different strategies, very different operating models in a singular platform without everybody having to operate under the least common denominator way of operating. And then I turn the lens internally, right, and think that's all the things we're doing for lenders. We're doing all of the same things internally at Xactus, leveraging the intelligent verification platform. So that's where we're automating. That's where we're delivering lean solutions. That's where we're going to leverage AI to drive tasks out and make sure that our people are focused on being empathetic and making sure that they're there to support lenders and consumers through the origination and servicing process. So I love how all of that comes together in a very dynamic ecosystem of technology.
And you and I have talked about that before, kind of using data to save money on data.
That's right.
So yeah, it comes back again into the conversation. Candice, you brought up AI, and it's going to come up a lot during this event because it's important, right? So could each of you, and Candice, I'm going to start with you and then go here and then down the row. Could each of you talk about the build, buy, partner decision that's going on at each of your companies and how you're thinking about AI?
Yeah, that's a really great question because the build versus buy, right? And we're watching what others are doing. It's a huge investment, right? But at the end of the day, when you go SaaS, they are going to continuously evolve it. They're going to spend the money to keep it going. If you bring it in-house, you got to have the developers, you got to have staff. When it goes down, can we get it to go back up as quickly as we need it to? You know, you have to evaluate all of those things, and we are. We're looking at a lot of our tech stacks. I'm also inquiring about our tech partners. Hey, what does AI look like for you? What is it in your roadmap? What's your vision for it? Because it helps me define whether what we need to focus on internally, if it's just a miss, or if it is something that we're already partnering with them, if it's already going to be built in cost that we don't need to spend money on. Because you can throw a ton of money at AI, but is it really going to generate a proper ROI?
Let's go here.
Yeah, I mean, for us, there's really three factors kind of playing out right now. One, our bank as a whole, starting at the top with our CEO, has really embraced this and taken a top-down approach. So the bank is gone full in with Copilot wrapped around the entire organization as a core part of everything that we're doing across the bank. What this is doing is a couple different things. One is it's pulling along our partners within the bank. So our risk and compliance partners and everybody else who ultimately has to be on board with how you implement, that's happening organically in our bank, just naturally. And then the second piece of it is we're replacing our LOS. I called it out there for almost the sole purpose to be ready for this.
Yeah.
We will more than likely buy and partner with folks specific within the mortgage space, but we're using the enterprise scale to mature our internal processes, mature our mindset, so that as we get the new LOS up and going later next year, we've got the disciplines in house to go and start running off of the races with it. I mean, we've just, I also mentioned we're replacing our servicing system. One of the things that we've been doing is we have Copilot sitting in on every single one of our new process map calls. And out of every call, it generates a draft Visio and procedure document of every single call.
So
now,
smart.
It's crazy.
Is it 100% spot on? No, it's probably 70%.
Right.
But if you think about, for a mortgage operation, for servicing, we've got thousands of processes. We're accelerating the time frame to complete that work. Unbelievable, because then we just send people back behind it to put the finishing touches on it.
Well, and every call, it gets smarter.
Yeah.
So it gets better.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've created Rocket Logic, which is our proprietary LOS, but that's just for loan origination. Just for that. But there's everything else, like you were talking about. There are the meetings, Copilot in Slack, like leveraging Copilot to summarize meetings and create Visios and create presentations. I don't know how I survived without it. And I don't know how I ever drafted a dang email prior to ChatGPT or running something through it to just check me to see, hey, should I be looking at, because the capabilities are incredible, more out of just the, what you think of for spell check and stuff. No, ask it to be more dynamic, ask it to take a different angle if you're going to negotiate, like just the incredible, and I said this earlier, supercharging team members with it. It really is, and it allows, Shelley, like you're saying, it allows our Rocket team members to focus on what they're good at, which is building relationships, being empathetic, and just truly getting to know the client and being there for the client, rather than worrying about, I need to go do a outline for my meeting, or maybe I need to put this client's certain qualification aspects into our LOS. No, instead it's automatically putting it in there because it can listen into the conversation and knows what to do. So yeah, AI is revolutionizing how we originate laws.
I joke, and I'm somewhat serious, like I'm getting really close to sending Copilot to like 70% of my meetings for me. Because so many of them are just, they're kind of readouts and statuses of what's going on and things along that line. How much more efficient can we be?
So my favorite use case so far, I run a media business. It was, I asked ChatGPT how I could get it to stop crawling our content and posting it within ChatGPT. And it actually gave me a really good answer.
Really?
Yeah, which I typed up a memo from it, sent it to my tech team, like, please implement this stuff. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Shelley, let's close with you on this one.
Yeah, so again, within AI, we're Copilot, we have internal ChatGPT. We actually have also have our own instance, if you will, that's safe and protected, that's API enabled, where we're using it to have a full knowledge base of all of those SOPs, as well as all of our system documentation, so that it's the one place that a team member can go within Xactus and say, how do I do something? Right. And it doesn't just, it doesn't just give you like a blurb. It actually shows you the screen, takes you to the spot, so it's very interactive in how it works. We've actually also implemented a tool, so ours is a combination of build versus buy as well, where it is a Copilot-like, but it's been built to specialize in pipeline management and integrated into Salesforce. And so it goes along in every sales conversation that we have, whether it's a Teams call, whether it's an online call, it's there. Right, and it's not only creating the summary of the call and the action items, but it's putting them back into Salesforce, right? So it's real good comments about what's happening with these opportunities, which I love because it's saving so much time in pipeline calls and translation and just normalizing data that salespeople put into Salesforce to make sure that we have a good view of how things are progressing. We're using it obviously internally to optimize things within operations. And just eliminate tasks altogether. But then we're also using it and building out some very dynamic workflows, again, to achieve the buy less data using data.
All right, so for your session on stage, you had a kind of a bonus question that you didn't get to. So we'll ask it in this bonus session. So talk about what's one underrated action that lenders can take that will just make them more agile in this new world of AI? And Eric, why don't we start with you, go to Candice, come over here, and then end with Shelley.
I would say ignore the noise. And what I mean by that, I talked earlier about focusing on what you can control. And I think that's so important, probably for any industry. Focus on what's in front of you. Focus on the say-do ratio. Make sure that you're actually doing and completing the things you're saying you're going to do. But really, ignoring the noise and focusing on what's in front of you, I think is the most important right now in our in the environment we're in.
100% agree. Candice.
Yeah, so I would say the one underrated thing is, I told my Ted Lasso comment is be curious. Be curious about what you're reading and what you're hearing. Doesn't mean that you need to fall for it. It doesn't mean that you need to redirect your strategy and pivot to what everyone else is saying. To mimic what Eric just said, the noise can get in our heads as leaders and it can really become a distraction. And then when you lose that distraction, you lose your strategy. And share your strategy internally with your people to ensure that you are on point. Is it what they need. You know what you need as an organization, but is it really what your producers need, your originators, to go close loans, put people in homes? It's the dream of home ownership. We all have the common denominator, but if we get distracted, it's going to hold certain companies back. And so be curious, continue to educate yourself. I said it on the stage, get up and read. Invest in yourself as a leader and be curious, but it doesn't mean that you have to do it.
It's one of 3 things that I hire for: curiosity.
Yeah.
It's a really good one.
Curiosity,
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I'll give you something so underrated it'll almost feel tactical. And I think it's a matter of people not focusing enough on appraisals and appraisal related activities. It wraps a lot of these things together. I think it's going to be the thing that when the market turns, brings processing to their knees if you haven't spent time investing in it. And there's some amazing technologies out there, AI technologies, image technologies that let you automate the clearing of appraisals, and not enough people are paying attention to it.
I mean, look, it really slowed things down during the pandemic. We all remember that.
You look where the overall appraiser market from a number of appraisers that are out there and that are
Fewer and fewer.
Correct. I think it's a big problem that nobody talks about.
Not to mention we're doing a huge change to all the underlying
That's right.
forms and processes
Right.
within appraisal at the same time
Right.
that could also be really challenging in that environment.
Shelley, take us home.
So I like and Chad, you said this on stage, but now's the time to sit with your operations. Now's the time to look at where you've got bottlenecks, where you're not as optimized as possible. Now's the time to evaluate your workflows and enhance and improve them to be optimized. I think that is, one of the most critical things that we can do together with lenders as a partner, is to make sure that things are as streamlined as possible, and so that when the market starts to come back, you've got the ability really to hit the ground running.
Amazing. Well, this has been a great bonus session after your amazing session on stage. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you. Appreciate
Diego.
it. Thank you.